What's up, Guardians, and welcome back, Warlocks. I'm Profane, and thank you as always for checking out the video. As we continue our journey through the best builds in Destiny, we turn our attention to a Void build that's about to get a massive upgrade to its destructive capability. In this week's update, Bungie's going to be pushing through a sandbox update, and when this goes live, Warlock buddies, including Ionic Sentries, Arc Souls, Helion turrets, Stasis turrets, and even the Child of the Old Gods will be adjusted so that their damage will be determined by your grenade stat. Buddies that are created through your class ability are still going to have their regeneration rates determined by your class stat, but all of the aforementioned buddies will receive the same damage bonus as any other grenade would, which means that with a 200 grenade stat, you would give any of those buddies a 65% bonus in damage. And along with an increase in damage, there should be a lot more synergy that these create with armor mods and class fragments. This will bring a lot of extra complexity for Warlocks, especially when it comes to build crafting, as there's going to be quite a few builds that benefit from this change. But one of the builds that I'm most excited about is a Void build, featuring the Briarbinds exotic gauntlets. This plays off of the use of Child of the Old Gods, which means that this exotic will only work when using the Void subclass. This aspect grants us with a Void buddy whenever we activate our class ability, and after it's been activated, it'll lock onto whatever enemy that we apply weapon damage to. Once it's gotten to its target, it'll connect itself to all nearby enemies, and as it remains connected, it'll deal continuous damage, while applying a lesser form of weakening, and that registers in as a 15% debuff, and that's going to stay active for just over 9 seconds. The amount of damage that the Void Buddy deals is currently pretty low, only dealing 42 points of base damage to an enemy like this ogre here at the shooting range, and that damage instance gets reapplied every 0.7 seconds, and it does get spread across multiple enemies. If we could reach 200 points in our grenade stat, we would be able to increase the damage of each instance by around 27 points, bringing that up to 70 points of base damage. Getting to 200 on any given stat can be difficult, but you do have the option of using grenade font mods, which would provide between 20, 40, and 50 extra points, but that's only going to be when we have armor charges active. Now, just like any other construct, our Void Buddy can be destroyed, but it does come with 150 points of HP, and because we are using the Briarbinds, we'll be able to give them bonus damage resistance. And as we defeat enemies who have been connected by our buddy, we'll gain bonus class energy, providing us with 10% on low ranking enemies, but as much as 50% for champions and other high value targets. And if we were to build into our class ability to where we have at least 100 points in our class stat, we'd give any source of class energy regen a 190% bonus. So instead of getting 10% energy, we'll gain 19% instead. Based on what type of rift we've chosen, our Void Buddy will provide extra benefits. Healing rifts continuously apply 40 points of health to any player standing within it, and because of the Briarbinds, they would start providing us with a 4% bump to both grenade and melee energy, and that's going to get reapplied every second and a half. But I'm actually more in favor of using an Empowering Rift with this setup. When using an Empowering Rift, we'll gain 25 points of HP whenever we deal damage of any kind, and this can be reapplied every second and a half. And what's nice about this is that it does not require us to defeat an enemy, we simply just need to damage them. Empowering Rifts provide us and nearby teammates with a 20% bonus in damage. They also provide a small bonus in grenade, melee, and class energy. With either option providing us with bonus ability energy and bonus health restoration, I've got to lean towards Empowering Rifts, because that 20% bonus in damage is going to really stand out when we've got a 15% debuff. The Briarbinds add some interesting dynamics to the Void Buddy paradigm. This comes with the intrinsic trait called One with the Void, which increases the duration that a Void Soul can stay attached to an enemy, giving that a 55% increase, which is going to let it stay connected to targets for 15 seconds. Most rank and file enemies would already be dead, so we're really going to see this have more of an effect whenever targeting high ranking enemies. In addition to an increase in duration, the Briarbinds grants us with the ability to retrieve our buddy, allowing us to reposition and redeploy it onto a new group of enemies. And each time we retrieve the buddy, its timer gets reset. And since we'll be able to retrieve our buddy, we'll be able to juggle as many as 2 buddies at the same time, which lets us target and weaken twice the amount of enemies. And every time we defeat an attached enemy, our Void Buddy will grow in strength. Now, there's no on-screen representation for this, but this will start by receiving a 16% bonus in damage, and that's going to grow to as much as a 100% bonus, but that's going to be after defeating 5 enemies. So whenever we factor in the bonus that our grenade stat would provide, our Void Buddies could be dealing as much as 110 points of base damage. On top of the bonus damage that our Void Buddies will gain, each final blow will grant them with increased damage resistance, which starts out at 8%, but it tops out at 50% increased damage resistance, which is going to reduce how often these get destroyed during battle. There's a lot of incredible benefits that we're going to receive out of the Briarbinds, and if Bungie does follow through with removing the featured exotic restriction, this will become a much more viable option whenever jumping into some of the Grandmaster and Ultimate level portal activities. We could make use of the Feed the Void aspect with this build, and that would activate Devour whenever we defeat enemies with any type of Void ability. But we've actually got a different way of triggering Devour, and that's going to open us up to use Chaos Accelerant, and that provides us with a boost to our selected grenade type. Now we are using scatter grenades currently, which gives us a large cluster of burst damage, but vortex grenades are great for extended damage over time. And when it comes to our choice in fragments, we have Echo of Starvation, which is how we're going to be able to trigger Devour. This will get activated whenever we collect orbs and void breaches, and we plan on generating a ton of both. When Devour is active, we'll gain bonus health regen and bonus grenade energy. Since it's not the enhanced version of Devour, we'll gain 70 points of HP on every final blow, and between 7.5 and 20% bonus grenade energy. To be able to generate the orbs and void breaches that we need, we're using Echo of Harvest, which will generate those when defeating weakened enemies. There is a 10-second cooldown between activations, but we do have other methods of creating orbs and void breaches. A few easy ways to get our orb generation going will be to wear Helmet Siphon and Reaper class item mods, and that's going to see us creating orbs whenever we defeat enemies with void weapons, and when we defeat enemies after activating our rift. And with the use of the Elemental Coalescence artifact mod, we'll be able to generate an extra void breach whenever we rapidly defeat enemies. Another way for us to extend the benefits of Devour is to use Echo of Persistence, which will give a 50% increase to the duration of any of our elemental buffs, which includes Invisibility, Devour, and Void Overshields. So instead of having Devour max out at 10 seconds, we'll get it for 15. If we were to be using Vortex grenades with this build, we would want Echo of Remnants so that we could extend their duration, which would ultimately increase the damage that they're able to deal. But if we're not using Vortex grenades, then we're going to go with Echo of Instability. That way our grenade final blows will give us volatile rounds, allowing our void weapons to pierce barrier shields. After taking additional damage, volatile enemies trigger explosions, which will help us be more effective against large groups of enemies. And if we were to be using void weapons with Repulsor Brace, we'd be able to maintain constant overshields because of those volatile enemies. Repulsor Brace provides a 45-point overshield, which grants us with a 70% bonus to our damage resistance, and because we have Echo of Persistence, the duration of our overshield will be extended to 15 seconds. An unfortunate downside to running a Healing Rift is that you're not able to activate overshields whenever standing inside the rift, so since we have chosen to use Empowering Rifts, we're not going to have those complications. Repulsor Brace isn't the only weapon trait that will synergize with this build, but since our Void Soul is already going to weaken enemies, we don't need the benefits of Demoralize or Withering Gaze, and if we are using Echo of Instability, then we don't really need Destabilizing rounds. Those traits would be beneficial, but we could also make use of other weapon traits, like Dragonfly and Chain Reaction, or Demolitionist and Strategist, which would greatly improve the uptime of our grenade or class energy. And when it comes to exotic weapons, there's quite a few standouts, like the Graviton Lance, 3rd Iteration, and Luminarch. But I've really enjoyed the performance of the Leviathan's Breath, especially when you tack on the benefits of the Argent Quiver artifact mod, which would give us a 25% bonus in bow damage, but that would consume armor charges in the process. The Tractor Cannon is another great option. It might be an up-close weapon, but this does apply a 30% weakening debuff. And if we can tag enemies with the Tractor Cannon, we can extend that 30% debuff through the use of our Void Buddy. We've already spoke about a few standout artifact mods, but there's also Shoulder to Shoulder, which would provide us with bonus damage resistance whenever dealing sustained damage while standing next to teammates. We've also got Elemental Overdrive, which would give our void weapons a 10% bonus in damage, and that's going to happen after collecting a Void Breach. And that bonus in damage would stack alongside our other bonuses, like Weapon Surges, Activity Modifiers, and our Empowering Rift. We don't want to miss out on the synergy that our void weapons are going to have, so the best way to work in some of these new artifact mods would be to use a strained weapon like the Mint Retrograde or New Malapus, and by doing so we can use mods like Threadling Proliferation and Pack Tactics. We've talked about the importance of building into our grenade and class abilities, but we haven't really talked about what type of armor and what type of armor sets that we need to be looking at. I found it best to go after Specialist and Grenadier armor. This way we can focus on grenade and class and still have enough stat points to go towards super and weapons. The new Smoke Jumper armor set provides a lot of great benefits to this setup, as we'll gain bonus damage resistance on orb collection, and I think it'd be a smart play to go with a 2-piece of Smoke Jumper with a 2-piece of Bushido. This way we'd gain 35 points of health whenever defeating enemies with a freshly drawn weapon. The new Iron Banner set could also be a great option. And once you've gotten all the pieces put together, you've got an incredible build that is honestly perfect just the way it is. So whenever these upcoming changes take place, this build is going to be on a whole nother level. So if you haven't played around with the new Briarbinds, it's a good time to give them a try. And if you need any help getting your own build set up, try checking out my Mobilytics or dim links, which I'll leave links for down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts about the Briarbinds, the upcoming changes for Warlock buddies, and anything else in Destiny that you want to talk about. Let us know down in the comments. Thank you as always for checking out the video. If you enjoyed and found it helpful, then be sure to hit that like button below, along with the subscribe button if you're new. Both are greatly appreciated and both really do help support the channel, and so does being a member. So a big shout out and thank you to all of our channel members. And until next time, Guardians, this has been Profane, wishing you all some happy hunting.